We tend to think of math as this world of cold, hard numbers. But what if I told you it's also a world of incredible human stories? We're talking stories of pure chance, of survival, of connection, and they're all just hidden in plain sight. So let's take a peek through the keyhole of a single, seemingly random day and see what we can find.
Take any date on the calendar. Let's say February 8th. On the surface, it's just another day, right? One day out of 365 seems pretty unremarkable.
But what happens when you decide to look at that date a little differently? Not just as a square on the calendar, but more like a lens. What happens when you focus that lens on one specific field, like mathematics? Well, suddenly, that ordinary day just opens up. It becomes a window into a whole universe of stories.
And wow, what a universe it is! On this one day, February 8th, you've got this whole web of stories connecting all these names. Giants of math were born, some of the titans passed away, and letters that would change everything were sent. This isn't just some boring list, it's like a cabinet of curiosities. So come on, let's open a few of these drawers and see what's inside.
All right, first up, let's talk about a story of pure, unadulterated chance. It's about how a legendary career in mathematics didn't start with some big passion, but with something as simple as the flip of a coin.
So, meet Gomes Teixeira. He's a giant in the world of Portuguese mathematics. But as a young guy, he couldn't have cared less about the subject. He literally said he studied it, and I quote, just to do my schoolwork. No special love for it, no real interest. So, what on earth changed? Well, his family was kind of at a crossroads about his future. His father was pushing for theology or law. His cousin, though, saw his potential and really wanted him to go into science. And young Teixeira, he was apparently fine with either option. So his dad, in this brilliant moment, just pulls out a coin. He says, let luck decide. The coin was tossed, it came up science, and just like that, a legendary mathematical career was launched on a 50-50 chance. Okay, so from a career that kicked off by chance, we're going to pivot to a life that was saved by skill. This next story isn't about the start of a life in math, but about how math can, quite literally, become a matter of life and death.
So picture this, it's World War II, and we're following the story of Gaetano Fichera. In 1943, he refuses to fight for the Axis powers. Because of this, he's captured, he's imprisoned, and he's actually condemned to die. But somehow, he manages this incredible escape and finds his way to a group of Italian partisans who were fighting the Nazis.
But the partisans were, deeply suspicious. In the middle of a war, spies are everywhere. So they asked him who he was, and Fichera tells them the truth. I'm a mathematician. Can you just imagine their reaction? Here's this guy in the middle of the mountains claiming to be a mathematician. Yeah, they decided they were going to have to test this very strange claim. And this is where the story gets really unbelievable. As fate would have it, one of the partisans in this group was a former mathematics teacher, so he starts grilling Fichera right there on the spot, throwing complex problems at him. Fichera answers every single one perfectly. The teacher was convinced, the group accepted him, and his life was saved. He'd later joked that this was all the proof anyone needed that math could be, quote, useful in everyday life. All right, our third story is one about sheer perseverance. It's about forging a completely new path, swimming against the current of what society expects. And this story belongs to a woman who just refused to be defined by the limits of her time. So, back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the road for women in higher education, especially in a field like mathematics, was, well, it was practically a dead end. But Emily Martin, she didn't just walk that path, she completely blazed a new one. She earned degrees, she won fellowships to study in Europe alongside the greatest mathematicians of the day, and she eventually rose to become the chair of a university mathematics department. And then, in 1899, she took another massive step. Emily Martin became one of the very first women to join the American Mathematical Society. This was a professional organization that, at the time, was almost entirely a boys' club. She wasn't just doing math, she was changing who was even allowed at the table. Okay, so we've seen chance, survival, and perseverance. Our final story, and maybe the most famous one connected to February 8th, is all about connection. It's about one single letter that bridged two different worlds and ended up changing mathematics forever. The date is February 8th, 1913. In Cambridge, England, the famous mathematician G.H. Hardy mails a letter. Its destination, Madras, India. It's addressed to a young, self-taught clerk with absolutely no formal training. His name was Srinivasa Ramanujan,
and he had boldly sent Hardy a list of his own incredible, unproven theorems. This letter was Hardy's reply, and in it you can almost see him sorting Ramanujan's work into 3 different piles. He says, okay, some of these theorems, we already know them. Others are new, but they're kind of minor curiosities. But then there was that third pile, results that were not just new, but absolutely profound. This letter was way more than just a reply. It was a recognition of pure genius. It was the spark that ignited one of the greatest collaborations in the history of science.
So, a coin toss, wartime interrogation, a trailblazing career, a world-changing letter. What do all of these stories, all tied to this one single day, really tell us? Well, they point to a much deeper truth about what mathematics even is. And, fittingly, on this very same date, we lost the mathematician who maybe put it best.
The great John von Neumann, who died on February 8, 1957, he offered this really profound idea. He said that science isn't really about finding some ultimate capital T truth or explaining everything perfectly. It's about making models, creating these frameworks of ideas and equations that help us describe the world. And that's not a cold, mechanical process. It's a fundamentally creative, imaginative, and deeply human act. When you look at Teixeira's coin flip, or Fichera's interrogation, or Martin's perseverance, or Ramanujan's letter, what you're seeing is that model building in action. You're seeing that this world of numbers and equations isn't some cold, separate thing. It is deeply, deeply intertwined with our own lives.
It turns out mathematics is this incredible arena for the entire human drama. It's a story that's shaped by the randomness of a coin toss, forged in the fires of war, built by the raw courage to defy convention, and pushed forward by the simple, powerful act of one person reaching out to recognize genius in another.
So the next time you see a theorem, or a formula, or even just an elegant piece of code, remember the stories from February 8. It's not just an abstraction, it's a model built by a person who had a story. Which really just leaves us with one last thought. Whose story is hiding in the next equation you see?